What's going on, everybody? It's the Hook Cam, and obviously Joe Burrow was just drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. And this pick had kind of been etched in stone for a couple of months now. People pretty much knew Joe Burrow was going to go to the Bengals, and I really wanted to see exactly how I think that Joe Burrow is going to help this football team. And we all have to understand that obviously football is a team sport, cliche saying, right? Football is a team sport, and there's a number of things that needed to change in order to have the Bengals to be successful for this season. First things first, I think that their offensive line does need a little bit of work. However, they are getting their last year's first-round pick back, Jonah Williams. That's going to help tremendously. And all in all, when you look at it, there are some solid pieces on that offensive line. But how exactly is Joe Burrow going to help this football team? And I took a look at some stats last year that I think told a lot about the Bengals and their troubles moving the football down the field. First thing that stuck out to me was that the Bengals were 24th in the league in third down conversions at 36%. It's really difficult when you're only converting. It's 3 times out of 10, maybe 4 times out of 10. That's tough to win a football game with that conversion rate. Is it impossible? No, because if you convert the critical third downs, you're going to be okay. This is when I started to notice things obviously weren't great for the Bengals, and you don't really need the stats to tell you that, but just more as to why I think they were having trouble. The second thing that really stuck out was their red zone, how many attempts they had per game, and also how many times they scored. They were 21st in the league with 3 red zone trips per game, and they were 27th in the league with red zone scores per game at 1.3. So that tells me that they have trouble moving the ball down the field, converting third downs, obviously. And once they do get to the red zone, they aren't scoring touchdowns enough. And it's a very obvious statement. I know a lot of you guys are going, yeah, obviously, that makes sense, Cam. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. But where does Joe Burrow help? And the first thing that I wanted to take a look at was some of this Bengals film, right? And we kind of take a look at this first third down here from Andy Dalton. He's going to try and hit this comeback or curl from his number 1 receiver out here. This is a ton of space to work with. And he really doesn't have any pressure in his face in this pocket. He should be able to step up and deliver a catchable ball, but he skips one to his receiver, right? Third down lost early in the game. Earlier in the season, right? We missed this first down. You can't get the ball moving downfield. He really doesn't have any pressure in his face. That's a ball that should be completed for an NFL quarterback. Now we move on to some of his red zone deficiencies. And again, I could put in a number of third downs in here, but I don't want to have this be a 40-minute video, so I'm only picking a couple here and there. Some of these red zone conversions are also third down. This one's just a first down where he throws a pick on it. And this is just a bad throw from Andy Dalton. This isn't necessarily a bad read. Number 3 is going to come up here, step on the toes of this defensive back, and then work out. And we're going to have the same thing, I believe, with our, we're going to get a curl with our number 1. And he can go to either of these two guys because they're both open. And I don't hate this decision from Andy Dalton, but I hate where this ball's thrown. This ball's thrown behind him. This is an easy interception for this kid. Easy interception. And things like that can't happen. And it's obviously they can't happen for you to have a successful football team. To me, that's not the scheme. That's nothing more than Andy Dalton throwing it. That's a bad ball from Andy Dalton. To me, I look at what Joe Burrow can do, and I think that he hits a lot of these throws. I think he's very smart, especially when you go empty and you really force that defense's hand. Joe Burrow does an excellent job of excelling in those situations. Now here we have another example of the Bengals inside the opponent's territory once again. And we're going to have another interception from Andy Dalton. This one, to me, is a panic throw, right? Pressure in his face. He panics. He gets rid of it just to whoever he thinks is open. And obviously he's going to work up behind that backer and trying to kind of work in this zone in between the backer and safety. But Andy Dalton panics and puts this thing too far in front, and it's an easy interception for the safety. And I think that Joe Burrow is much smarter he was smarter with the football when he was in college. Now again, Joe Burrow hasn't taken a pro snap. This is all speculation. This is going off of what I've seen from LSU and the composure that I saw from him. Game in and game out. Big third down. Every single game it felt like this kid was converting in the biggest circumstances. Now here's another example. And this to me is just a bad throw from Dalton. This isn't scheme to me. This isn't the receiver. This is a bad ball from Andy Dalton. And I don't want to sit here and rip on Andy Dalton. I really hope that he does go to another team and has success. This is just a really simple slant. And that ball has to be on his upfield shoulder. And instead, it's way up top, way over his head. There's no chance this dude's catching the ball, and it's right in the lap of another defensive back. Those are some very difficult, bad breaks, I should say. Not difficult throws. Those are bad breaks for a football team. And it didn't seem like Andy Dalton was as sharp as he had been in years past. Even though earlier in the season, he's thrown for 400 yards a game. It's just a bad ball. This ball's behind him. Like I said, not a chance that this receiver's catching this football. Look at where this thing ends up, man. There's no chance that we're bringing that in. That ball needs to be on his upfield shoulder, right in stride, so we can catch and move upfield. And like I said before, that's not scheme to me. That's Andy Dalton making a bad decision. Now, here's another example, right? We're going to have a stop and go from our number 1 up top, okay? And I understand why he throws this ball. He's staring down this safety, and he's thinking there's no way this dude's going to get all the way across the field. But this coverage is tight, right? This coverage is really, really tight. And when you're playing a team like New England, those matchups on the outsides aren't going to be there. New England has a phenomenal secondary. To me, I look at this, and I wonder why he didn't hit anything over the middle, because that's where this opens up. Right, we got a dude clearing out under the over the middle, and we have somebody working a route right here. That's going to be the guy that I would think he goes to. However, Stephon Gilmore did pick him off earlier in the game, so I understand that. But again, these are the decisions that I see Andy Dalton making, and I understand why they're picking Joe Burrow, right? And it kind of seems like with Dalton and Cincinnati that time's up, wash their hands of it, move on, and let's work with another quarterback. Now I move on to a little bit of Joe Burrow film, and I wanted to see really how well does this kid do in third down? How much of it was the scheme? How much of it was him making the correct throws? How much of it was his receivers, his phenomenal athletes that he has around him? How much of it was them making a great play? And in this situation, 3rd and 3 against Alabama, a gigantic down for LSU, and they run a really cool combination right here out of their bunch, right? And essentially we're trying to hit number 3, but we're clearing out with these 2 cats first, right? Number 3 is going to work up and in like that. But again, this is just phenomenal presence from Joe Burrow. Number 1, I love the processor he's got upstairs, right? We're checking our flat really quick. We see that we got a safety or a corner here who's going to come down and make a play on that. So we move our eyes to the back side, we let this thing clear, and we're going to just pick whichever guy's open, right? We've worked upfield with number 3 and we've cleared out. We technically have 2 guys on 1 up here. And this cat who's in man coverage on this dude, he's never going to get there. And we can see that this backer's trailing with our crosser right here. We're going to hit our underneath every single time. Good ball, good catch, first down. And it's easy throws like that. That number 1, yes, his coach put him in the position to make those throws. Absolutely. But it wasn't like any person, any football player in the nation could have made throws that Joe Burrow made. I think that he did a great job of processing a defense, right, especially when they went empty and forcing that defense's hand. I think he was one step ahead of where that defense was. Now, in this situation, there's a phenomenal play by the running back right here, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 100% phenomenal play. But again, I love the decision that we made here. They're in man. He's off, 10 or 8 yards. Okay, we're going to clear with number 1. We got to get this ball to number 2 right here quick. It's again not the best ball, phenomenal catch from 22, and he works up for a first down. Okay, but again, it's the processor that he has. Did he go there first? Right, he can see. Okay, off of number 2, I've got 8 yards to work with. That's going to be my hot. That's going to be the guy that I throw to first. Now, here's another excellent throw out of Texas. This is one of my favorite Joe Burrow plays. Absolutely. Because first and foremost, it's a great route by our number 3 receiver. But number 2, this isn't even a better throw. In between 2 safeties, in the red zone, you don't have a ton of room to work, right? And what's going to happen on this is this receiver is going to clear this backer and work up right in between these 2 safeties. Now, the backer's not going to friction because we're going to pass off anything underneath. They have to be looking up front, okay? But what I love about this throw is the anticipation of it. We have a very small window to work with right here. I know it probably doesn't look like it, but guys in D1, they close and they close fast. This is a good ball upfield right in between 2 safeties for a touchdown. And again, when was it? 3rd down and goal. Joe Burrow does not miss on 3rd down. He is excellent at converting on 3rd down, especially when they're in the red zone. He does a great job of that. Now, a little bit later in this Texas game, right, we have press coverage up top. Again, this is more of a better play by this receiver to get off that coverage, but again, just a phenomenal ball. We're hitting that hole shot in between the safety and the corner for Burrow, and it's throws like this that to me really separate him, right? We're staring down the middle of the field to keep this safety here. We're not looking to the right sideline too quick because then we're going to come over the top. As soon as he does snap his eyes there, this ball is absolutely in the bucket, and look where we have to work with here. We give our receiver a couple yards to bring this thing in. Phenomenal throw right at the sideline. Great job. Now here's another example, right? We're working in the red zone now against Clemson. Clemson's got a pretty good defense. Not sure if you guys know this. Again, phenomenal move by this receiver. Stemming this dude to the inside, even a little hesitation and moving upfield. Great job. But again, that ball is in the bucket for that receiver. Outstanding throw from him. And then again, this is something that I really do think the Bengals will take advantage of, is getting into that empty formation and bringing up some mismatches with their receivers. You know, they still hung on to A.J. Green. He's still going to be there. They still have other receivers to work with. And one thing that Joe Burrow really excelled at was his receivers in the slot and having them be able to beat whoever that safety or corner is, because chances are it's not their number one guy, right? And then throwing them a catchable football. This ball is a high-pointed back shoulder for 6 to go get. I think that any receiver in the NFL, if they're in the NFL, chances are they got a chance to make this catch. A phenomenal throw from Burrow, even better catch from that kid. So again, these are the things that I see Joe Burrow doing with the Bengals and excelling at, and how I think that he can make them better. Number one, I think that he's going to be smart in terms of his processor on third down. I think he's going to be very good at being able to read coverage, get that ball to the right guy quickly, and move on with their drive. The second thing, I think that he's going to be able to convert a little bit better in the red zone. I think that his mobility's probably got a lot to do with it as well. I think that if there is a broken play, he's going to be able to break the pocket. He is going to be able to step up. The kid's slyly athletic. Okay, and I think that will translate to the NFL. And number three, I guess the thing that we have to remember is Joe Burrow is not the only thing that's going to fix the Bengals. It's going to be a lot of other things. And I think that they're moving in the right direction. I think that getting their first-round pick back from last year after he suffered an injury is going to help tremendously, Jonah Williams. So with all that being said, guys, that is why I think Joe Burrow will help the Bengals this year. If you enjoyed this video, if you could drop a like, hit that subscribe button to my channel, The Hook Cam, as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports. We're pumping out content left and right. Draft season's going to pump this thing, pump the intensity up all the way to 11. So I'm pretty fired up for that. But with all that being said, guys, that's all I got for you today, and I will see you next time.